in this video. Hello everybody, and welcome to the 68th video on my channel. Today we will be starting a different type of mini-series, but we're still under the trigonometry series. Now, there's not much more to say, so please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button for more awesome videos just like this. Without further ado, let's move on to the lesson. Today's lesson will be about graphing trigonometric functions. Today, we're just going to start with two trigonometric functions, sine of theta and cosine of theta. These two are the most basic trigonometric functions as they have no asymptotes, no fancy stuff, and they pretty much look quite similar, and they almost are, which kind of relates to one of my previous videos, and I'll just explain that in a second. So let's move on to actually graphing these. Let's start with sine of theta. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to label the coordinate. We're going to label both of the axes. So what we're going to do for the x-axis is we're going to go in intervals of pi over 2. So now that we have the x-axis labeled, we're going to label the y-axis with the maximum being 1 and the minimum being 0. So that's pretty simple. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to graph it. So sine of 0 is 0. So we just have to draw a 0 over here, a dot over here. Then sine of pi over 2 is equal to 1. Sine of pi is equal to 0. Sine 3 pi over 2 is equal to negative 1. And sine 2 pi is equal to 0. So if we connect the lines, we get something like this. Now, this is just one half of the graph. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of extend this graph to the opposite side. Sine of pi minus over 2 is negative 1, and it's the same as 3 pi over 2. Minus pi is the same as pi. Same with minus 2 pi. And for minus 3 pi over 2, it's 1. The graph of this would look something like now. This kind of looks like it's duplicated. And if you watch my last video about the unit circle and angles and negative angles and angles over 360 degrees or 2 pi radians, you'll know that negative pi over 2 pi, sine of negative pi over 2 is equal to 3 pi over 2. So the sign is also the same. So now what we're going to do is we're going to graph cosine of theta. Cosine of theta is a little different, but first let's label the axes the exact same way as we did for sine theta. So now that we have the axes labeled, let's go by and doing all of the cosine values. So cosine of theta is equal to 1. So cosine of 0, is equal to 1. Cosine of pi over 2 is equal to 0. Cosine of pi is equal to negative 1. Cosine of 3 pi over 2 is equal to 0. And 2 pi, which is the same as 0, is 1 again. Now, for cosine of negative pi over 2, if you watched the video of proving cosine of pi over 2 minus theta is equal to sine theta, you'll know that cosine theta is an even function. And even functions have the same value whether it's positive or negative. So negative pi over 2 will have the same value as pi over 2. Negative pi will have the same value as pi. Same with 3 pi over 2, negative 3 pi over 2, and negative 2 pi. So if we draw the lines then, it's going to look something like this. And then, of course, both of these lines will be continuing on to infinity. And yeah, that's about it for all the graphing and everything. Now, the next we'll probably be doing tangent theta and cotangent theta, and then we'll finish off with cosecant theta and secant theta. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.